Рассказы о Шерлоке Холмсе. The stories about Sherlock Holmes. The Five Orange Pips. Part 1. Uncle Elias' Story. It is not easy to choose one of the Sherlock Holmes' case to tell you because they are all interesting or strange or mysterious. There is one of his last cases which was so interesting in its details and surprising in its results that I'm going to tell you the story now. It was the end of September 1887. My wife was visiting her aunt, so I was staying with my friend Sherlock Holmes in Baker Street. The weather was terrible that day. All the day the wind was blowing hard and it was raining heavily outside. Sherlock Holmes and I were spending a quiet evening together. "Was that the doorbell?" I asked. "Who can this be? Some friend of yours, perhaps?" "No, I'm sure. If he comes on business in this weather, it is very important." "Come in," said Holmes. A good-looking young man came in. He was wet, tired, and worried. "You have come far?" asked Holmes. "Yes, from Horsham. I have come for our advice. You can get it easily. And help." "Ah, that is not always so easy." "I have heard of you, Mr. Holmes, and a friend has sent me to you. He says that you know everything." "He said too much." "Well, sit down and tell me, if you can, all I need to know." The young man sat down and put his wet feet near the fire. "My name is John Openshaw. I think it is better to begin my story from some facts of my family. My father, Joseph, had a brother, Elias, who went to live in America when he was young. He became a planter in Florida, and at the time of the war, he fought in Jackson's army. He didn't like the black Americans, but during the Civil War, he fought against the men from the North and with those from the South. When the war was over, he returned to his plantation for 3 or 4 years. But the South lost the war, and there were equality for black people. About 1869 or 1870, he came back to England with a lot of money and bought a comfortable house near Horsham. He had no family and was a strange, unhappy man. He didn't want any friends, and he often drank a lot. But he was kind to me, and when I was 12, I came to live with him. When I was 16, I was quite a master of the house. I kept all the keys, and I could go where I liked and do what I liked. But there was one room in the house which was always locked. Nobody could go there. Sometimes I looked through the keyhole and could see nothing but only old boxes. One day, Uncle Elias got a letter from the town of Pondicherry in India. Pondicherry stamp. "What can this be? I have no friends there," he said, and opened the letter. Out there jumped 5 little dyed orange pips. They fell on his plate. I began to laugh at this and stopped suddenly because I saw my uncle's white face. He cried. "Oh my God! Oh my God! They have found me!" "What is it, Uncle?" I cried. "Death," he said, and ran upstairs. I looked at the envelope. It has 3 X's on this back. There was no letter inside. Who sent it, and why was my uncle so frightened? I left the breakfast table. When I was going upstairs, I met my uncle coming down. He had a large key in one hand and a small black box in the other. "They may do what they like, but I will win in the end," he said angrily. "Tell Mary." she was his servant, that I want her to light a fire in my room today, and send for Fordham, my lover. When Fordham arrived, they both went up to Uncle's room. They spent there a lot of time and at last asked me to come in. The fire was burning brightly, and all around it there was black burnt paper. The small box with 3 X's on it was open, and there was nothing inside. "John," my uncle said, "I know that I am going to die soon. My brother, your father, will have all my money and my house after my death, and you will have it when he dies. I hope you can enjoy it. If you find you cannot, take my advice and leave everything to your worst enemy. I don't know what is going to happen. I am afraid that my money brings death with it." I could understand what he meant, but I felt the danger. Surprisingly, nothing dangerous happened for a few weeks. Nothing happened to change our lives, and we lived our usually quiet life. But I saw a change in my uncle. He started to drink a lot, and every day he shut himself away in his room. He didn't watch to see anyone. One day, he drank too much and ran wildly out of the house. He was running about the garden with a gun in his hand, shouting out that he was afraid of no man. Suddenly, frightened, he ran back into the house and into his room, locking himself in again. One night, I heard a cry. I got up out of my bed and ran to my uncle's room. The door was open, the room was empty. In the morning, we found him at the far end of the garden, face downwards, in a very small lake. He was dead. The police said he killed himself, but I knew he was afraid to die, so I can't think it is true. Holmes stopped the young man for a minute. "One moment," he said. "When did your uncle get a letter from India, and when did he die?" The letter arrived on March 10, 1883. He died 7 weeks later, upon the night of May 2nd. Thank you. Please, go on. After my uncle's death, my father moved into the house. Of course, I asked him to look carefully at the locked room, but we didn't find anything important. All we found was the small box. It was empty and had a piece of paper with tricks and the Lord's words, letters and recipes written on it. Спасибо за прослушивание и за просмотр. Thank you for listening and for watching.